Well, hello everyone. It's Bukeka. You know me, I go by Bukeka Style, and it's great to have you here on stage on Fave Unite TV. Again, we're so excited to have our next guest with us, but I'm going to tell you about her in just a moment. In the meantime, I just want to update you on some phenomenal experiences that Fave Unite is having. Of course, we are seen all over the world in Africa, Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, in the United States, in South America. People are watching Fave Unite all over the world, and we're so excited about that. We are here to amplify Black stories and Black storytellers and making sure that those voices are heard, are the stories are seen, and that people have a greater understanding about why our stories should be celebrated. And so that's what we're here to experience and for you to experience at Fave Unite TV. So to celebrate, we are here to also acknowledge an amazing individual. She is our next guest on Fave Unite. And so let me tell you a few amazing things about Aduke Aremu. Aduke Aremu, born in Harlem, New York, but was born or grew up in Brooklyn. And she lived in Westchester County, but Brooklyn was her base home. What was supposed to be a summer retreat, Aduke left for Atlanta and made her permanent residence there. But she remains a Brooklyn gal at heart. Both her parents are from the Savannah, Georgia area. In fact, her uncle, John Wright, get this, founded Omega Psi Phi fraternity. From 1891 to 1921, Dr. Richard R. Wright, another relative, served as the first president of the then Georgia State Industrial College for Colored Youth, now Savannah State University. What an amazing lineage. Her maternal grandfather was one of the founders of the First African Baptist Church, the oldest Black Baptist church in Savannah, Georgia. So she comes from great stock, does she not? Professor Aremu won the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Small School Initiative grant and used the funds to open an international arts business high school at Wingate High School in Brooklyn. She has held several prestigious positions in education, faculty member at Essex County College, associate professor at Medgar Evers College, William Patterson College, and consulted for Hunter College, the College of New Rochelle and New York City Technical College, and Mercy College. Her writings are documented and researched at Westchester County College, University of Wisconsin, New York University, and Notre Dame University. She studied theater and speech communications at Hunter College, the College of New Rochelle, and New York University. Folks, I could go on and on and on, and we will do that. But first, while we have this amazing opportunity, please help me welcome to the stage Professor Aduke Aremu. Aduke, are you there with us?
Yes, I am here. It's great
Awesome.
being with you today. I'm so excited to be a part of your progressive television movement and your cultural um, 21st century movement. I am excited to be here. I'm sitting in Atlanta, Georgia at my house in the woods, and I'm really enjoying the possibility of having this great conversation with you.
Well, we are excited. We met, oh gosh, pre-pandemic, I think it was, in our trip that we made to the Atlanta area. We have a mutual friend, and I remember her telling me, she's like, "I've got to introduce you to my friend Aduke," and boy, am I glad she did. So let's get into it, shall we? I know that our viewers are looking forward to knowing all about you and all the wonderful things that you have done in your life. And I'm so excited to ask you some incredible questions about all the things that you've done. So let's just start with the fact that you founded the Harlem Children's Theater Ensemble during a pivotal area in New York City. From an insider's perspective, what was the one unwritten rule of the Harlem art scene that allowed your company to survive and thrive when so many others couldn't?
Well, the Harlem Children's Theater Company was formed basically after my first trip to Africa. When I graduated from Hunter College, which was a really great school for theater and the arts, and I had a triple major. I majored in theater, majored in education, I majored in communications. And as soon as I graduated in April, I went directly into West Africa for 4 months. I was joined a United Nations group of educators, but Hunter College paid for my entire trip because, as an African American student, I said to the president of the college, who happened to be a female, that as an African American who was a descendant of Africa, I needed to go home. And she looked at me and she smiled and said, "Really, where do you consider home?" I said, "Home is Africa." And even though I'm 20 years old, I already understand that there's a part of my culture that I have not seen. So I spent 4 months traveling throughout West Africa. And when I returned after a glorious 4 months, I founded the Harlem Children's Theater Company. At the time, as you know, there was a tremendous influence of the Black Renaissance and the Black arts movement was kind of like during that time when I got out of college. Also, politically, we were very aware because we were reading books like Fanon, we were reading Malcolm X, we were talking to Walter Rodney, who was from Guyana, who already had settled into East Africa. So I was part of a very young, progressive group of writers and theater people. I actually wrote my first poem that was published at the age of 13. So I was already actively involved in what I call the Black arts movement. The reason why the Harlem Children's Theater Company became famous so fast is because of the climate in New York was basically right for what we call the Black aesthetics, the Black voice, the culture of Africa, the culture of the Caribbean, the culture of the Gullah Geechee. So I took from my trips to Africa the color and the excitement and the music that I heard, especially in Ghana and Nigeria. And I began to incorporate this sort of sound musically into my plays. I also was a violinist, which is very ironic that I played the violin from 11 years old up to 19. So I had a astute understanding of classical music. So, with the combination of my study of classical music and my study of African music and African sounds, and with the emergence of Black music in New York City, we were listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. We had Patti LaBelle was roaming our culture as young people, and the Funkadelics. We were immersed in music. So, all of my plays became musicals, and they became a tremendous hit in New York City, and they began to expand across the states and across the seas. And that is the history of the Harlem Children's Theater Company, which started in East Harlem with 100 children. We moved to 42nd Street Theater Row. I was very aggressive about the arts for young people. My performers ranged from the age of 5 to 25, and we got a building on 42nd Street Theater Row, which is now right off of Broadway. I didn't have any money, and I opened up a theater. And then I went in search of funding. And the first check came from Jackie Onassis, This is a really interesting story. I was standing on 42nd Street and 10th Avenue. Jackie Onassis was speaking with the 42nd Street Redevelopment Corporation. And afterwards, I walked up to her because I've always been extremely a little bold about life. And I said, excuse me, Miss Jackie. That's what I said to her. I am 21 years old. I just ordered a theater on 42nd Street. I opened it. My flag is flying, and we have no money. We can't put up dance mirrors. We really can't do the floors because we have no money. But I work based on artistic faith. And Jackie Onassis made sure I got a check for $10,000 the next week. Not only did she make sure I got a check from her, but she made sure that I got access to several funding sources immediately. I'm 21 years old and I'm a little skinny little kid, black girl with the little braids. And she said, "Let me get you some money, my child." And that is how my history started.
That is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I mean, the tenacity, the strength, the confidence, that's what I'm hearing. That the confidence was so strong in you and is so
Mhm.
strong in you.
Mhm.
What a way to help the listeners really understand the power of knowing what you want, asking for what you want, and having the confidence to get it. How amazing! Thank you so much for that beautiful answer. And you've known legends, you've worked with legends like Joe Papp and George Faison. My gosh, when you were in the room with these icons, for example, and I'm sure there's many more, but what was the one specific skill or currency that you brought to the table that made them view you as an indispensable collaborator? I would say that that's probably what Jackie was thinking too.
One of the skills that I had, if I'm answering the question correctly, I was young, and at that time, New York City celebrated young writers. And I'm really fortunate during that time that I had a lot of mentors coming out of Hunter College. John Henry Clark was part of our academic um, um, curriculum staff. I also studied under Dr. Pearl Primus Dance. She was a member of the faculty. So I came out with a strong background in the arts and also mentorship. I was young, I was also Black, and Black happened to be really in during that time. I was a bit of a young genius, and I also was hardworking. Um, I had written quite a number of plays in the first 2 years from the age of 20 to 23. I'd already written 5 plays. I wrote The Liberation of Mother Goose, which became a national and international hit, was a satire on Mother Goose. I wrote Land of the Egyptians, which talked about the ancient civilization of Egypt. I wrote Water Witch, which talked about um, the cultures in the Gullah Geechee region, because my relatives were from Savannah, South Carolina, and they were people who believed in the old ways, the African rituals. I wrote Babylon the Musical, which was one of my greatest works, which was a 2.5 to 3 hour musical about Babylon, and it was a bit biblical. It talked about three people who were given the gift of wisdom that they did not want. And their job was to save the decaying society. And that play became very, very famous. It was done on PBS television. Ellis Hazlett was my mentor on television, and he presented Babylon. The Liberation of Mother Goose had a tremendous um, popularity. I think that play has been performed over 100 times all over the world. People loved it. It was 3 hours long. It was a satire on Mother Goose. All the characters in the stage play were Black or African. I did have Anglo-Saxon characters like Little Miss Muffet. She was um, Anglo-Saxon. I had some 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 of the original nursery rhymes where the characters were European or Anglo-Saxon. I kept them for club I call it climatic drama. And I created a host of new characters based on the tradition of the nursery rhymes. Why did I write that play? Coming out of New York City as a young writer, I was very sensitive about the fact that Black young people did not have enough theatrical stage experiences that were of color, that showed Black people on stage, especially young people, and that talked to the power of our royalty as people of color, of African descent. There weren't enough plays for young people that were musical, and I'm a musical person. So every one of my plays were musicals, and I had over 30 songs in them. And also, I'm a big fan of costuming. I had gotten that out of Africa. I also spent a lot of time in the Caribbean at the early ages of my 20s. I was in Jamaica at least 7 times. I was in Trinidad. I went to carnivals all over the Caribbean. So I began to pick up the culture of costuming that came out of what we call the carnivals in the Caribbeans. I participated in the New York City parade that took place Labor Day, where all the Caribbean countries marched. I was actively involved in culture. So I knew costuming, I knew set design, I knew music. I was a writer, I was a poet. So writing a play literally took me 3 weeks. I was putting them out like assembly line. I was really a very fast writer of theater. So
Thank you for watching On Stage on Fave Unite TV. If you're new to Fave Unite TV and you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a comment below, give us a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. If you'd like to see more content from Fave Unite TV, go ahead and subscribe. We're here for Black stories and Black storytellers. We're showcasing the culture on Fave Unite TV.